So this week's big thought centers around media. Media in general is the lifeblood of how we understand the world around us. Second to our own research, it really is how the majority of people get their information. And while yes, it's never recommended to take anything that you're presented with as 100% true or unbiased, there at one time was a general essence of journalistic integrity that we assumed was safe as it related to the things we saw in mainstream media. I want to talk about the things we need to be paying attention to as the world around us continues to accelerate. First, media traditionally was TV, print, and radio. Today, roughly half of Americans get their news from social media. TikTok alone has 4 in 10 US adults on it, and over half of those people are getting their news primarily from that channel. Meanwhile, 212 counties in America have 0 local news sources left. None. So the question of who controls the platforms is not abstract. For millions of people, the platform is the news. Recently, there's been a lot of discussion around the sale of Paramount. And if you noticed, at one point, Netflix was in the running to buy it. Now, the transaction has gone through, and with the latest purchase, one family, the Ellisons, are about to control, you ready? TikTok, CBS, CNN, HBO, the Discovery Channel, BET, Cartoon Network, Comedy Central, DC Studios, Fandango, Miramax, MTV, Nickelodeon, Paramount, Pluto TV, Showtime, TBS, The CW, TNT, Warner Brothers, and so much more. Billions of eyeballs of media. $111 billion of media. One family. Bernie Sanders posted the list on X with the caption, quote, "This is oligarchy." So I had been paying attention to the story as it was developing, and I didn't really want to speak on it too prematurely. But now that we're on the other side of it, let's talk about the impact of it. So in general, first, who are these people? Larry Ellison, one of the richest people on the planet, co-founder of Oracle, close ally of the current administration, is backing the entire thing. His son, David, is put in charge. Oracle already hosts TikTok's algorithm on its cloud infrastructure. Larry holds a 15% stake in TikTok US. And Oracle is one of the biggest players in AI and data infrastructure in the country. So the company that manages TikTok's data is also the company that's racing to dominate AI. And now that company happens to be owned by the same family that's controlling your news, your entertainment, your children's cartoons, and your social media feed. All of that is controlled by the same people. In 1988, Noam Chomsky and Edward Herman published a book called Manufacturing Consent. They laid out what they called the propaganda model, 5 filters that determine what becomes news and how it gets framed. And the very first filter, the one that they said matters the most, is ownership. Who owns the media? Because the people who own the pipes decide what flows through them. And when ownership concentrates into fewer and fewer hands, the range of what you're allowed to see, hear, and think about starts to get real narrow. And that was in 1988. There were dozens of major media companies back then. And now we're looking at a world where one family could influence what 170 million TikTok users see, what CBS reports, what CNN covers, what your kids watch on Nickelodeon, what stories get greenlit at Warner Brothers, what DC superheroes stand for, and what content gets surfaced by the algorithm on your phone all at the same time. Y'all not worried about this? NPR reported that this isn't just about entertainment for the Ellisons. It's about data. Oracle wants to be a major player in AI, and the more that they know about what we watch, what we click, what we search, what we share, the better the AI models become. That fact makes streaming platforms start to feel way less like entertainment sources and more like data extraction pipelines. And when one family controls both the content and the infrastructure, it just starts to blur the lines too much for my liking. Now, I want to be careful here because notions like this can very easily skew into conspiracy theory. And while I do indulge a little bit and find fun in some of that, I want to be very clear that what I'm describing is structural change. This isn't fantasy or like something beyond the realm of fact. This is real and this is happening. So the question becomes, where do you go for information that isn't filtered through the interests of one family? If you haven't heard the term news desert, it's a community where local journalism has completely disappeared. No local paper, no local reporter, no one covering your city council, your school board, your police department. Northwestern State of Local News report found 212 counties with nothing and over 1,500 with only one source left. These are mostly rural communities, small towns, places where the economics of journalism simply collapsed many, many years ago. And when local news disappears, people turn to social media for the information. 51% of people living in news deserts now get their news from social media apps and influencers, and also family and friends, but those people are also more than likely got their information from social media. And we've already seen censorship happening on these platforms. The new terms of service on TikTok, they own everything that you post, and you're not allowed to say certain things, including some keywords that I won't say here because I may want to post this on TikTok. The first step is understanding it. The second is knowing what your options are and what you need to do to empower yourself to look at media with a more discerning eye. And then I want all of you who create content to be more aware of your risk of censorship and the importance of owning your own channels. So here's what I think we need to be doing. First, know who owns what. I just took you through a lot of it, but before you trust the source, understand who's behind it. I want you to do your own research here. Understand who owns the platform, who funds the publication. All of this is public information, and I want you to empower yourself with that knowledge. Media literacy in the age of AI is going to be very, very important. Understand the who behind the what is being shown to you. And then you can look at the news from a more informed lens and start to question the intention behind the stories that flood the news cycle. Please do this. Do this for me. Number 2, diversify where your information comes from. If your entire news diet is off of one platform, you're seeing the world through one family's lens. I want you to find independent journalists to subscribe to. Support local reporting news where it still exists. Follow writers on platforms that they own, newsletters, personal sites, independent publications. If someone can't be deplatformed, their voice can't be silenced. Sources that I enjoy here, Ground News is one of them. URL ground.news and allsides.com are great places to start because they show you news stories from across the spectrum. They tend to come with a more balanced approach instead of just being too far left or too far right. Number 3, and this is for my fellow creators, I want you to own your channels. If you are making content on a platform that you do not control, you are building on rented land. We've already seen censorship start to happen. The more concentrated ownership becomes, the more your reach is at the mercy of someone else's priorities. Build your email list, build your website. Make sure you are building something durable for the longer haul, inclusive of your data and your archives and your ability to protect your own voice. So I'm curious, what do you think about all this? Does it concern you? I want it to concern you, I think. I don't want you to be concerned, but I want you to be concerned, if that makes sense. Do you feel empowered, disempowered, in the middle? Are you already tapped into more balanced news sources, perhaps, or have a point of view that you want to share? Let me know in the comments and let's circulate some knowledge here. Information is power. Knowledge is power. Because in a world where the news is bought and paid for and the filters are being set and the algorithm is being fine-tuned, the most powerful thing you can do is decide for yourself what's worth paying attention to and how you'll keep yourself informed.